I am your tribal chief. So, YouTube world and YouTube tribe, acknowledge me as the one and only person who could bring you wrestling reviews. You see that, Paul? That's how you get acknowledged. I'm playing. I'm sorry. What's up, y'all? You know what I'm here for. I'm about to bring you guys the wrestling review for Monday Night Raw. Testing out a new camera here. Not a new camera, but a new tripod stand. So, see how this one goes, right? They start off with Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley, or as I like to call it, Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley promo. But it didn't start off with Brock Lesnar or Bobby Lashley. It actually started with Adam Pearce. And Adam Pearce, for some reason, it was weird because before I get into that, just before I forget, did you notice that on SmackDown they actually played the intro for Friday Night SmackDown, but then on Raw we didn't get an intro. We just basically got a recap of Royal Rumble, then Adam Pearce. So that's why I segued to this, because it was kind of like what they did. But yeah, so you got Adam Pearce for some reason recapping the Royal Rumble like nobody haven't seen the Royal Rumble. If you see my review for the Royal Rumble, you know I hated the Royal Rumble. Well, I won't say I hated. I was disappointed. I was disappointed that I had more fun watching the women's Royal Rumble than I did the men's, because even though that was a disaster. Oh, you know what? I'm rambling. Sorry. Monday Night Raw. I start rambling because it just irks me how it could have been a great show, how they just stuck with their original formula. But they made up for it with Monday Night Raw. But Adam Pearce, after recapping what happened at the Royal Rumble, he announced that the new champion, Bobby Lashley, I forgot to say spoilers if you haven't seen it, but yeah, Bobby Lashley is the new champion, and he announced that Bobby Lashley will step inside of the Elimination Chamber, which is going to be held at Saudi Arabia, at the Saudi Arabia event. I don't know if they're gonna. I think it's gonna be in Saudi Arabia, but instead of being Crown Jewel, it's just gonna be Elimination Chamber coming from Saudi Arabia. And it seems like they actually, because I remember the rumors were saying they wasn't sure they was going to call it the Elimination Chamber. I think at one part they said they was going to call it the WrestleMania Chamber. But yeah, they went with Elimination Chamber, and it's already gets a little bit of backlash before the fact that they're using a rap song for their theme. But hey, they've been doing that for the past 3 pay-per-views, so I don't have no problem with it. But yeah, he announced that Bobby Lashley would defend his newly won WWE Championship inside the Elimination Chamber. This will bring out Bobby Lashley and MVP, with MVP voicing their disdain for the fact that Bobby Lashley had to step aside in the Elimination Chamber with 5 other competitors. They said that's not fair to the almighty Bobby Lashley. Now, this would bring out Brock Lesnar, who will basically downgrade Bobby Lashley's win. He still called him Bobby Who. He was saying Bobby Lashley's not a real champion, and he did come out in his ring gear and said that, let's do it tonight, because you can't be satisfied with that win. Like, you can't be satisfied with with the way you won. And I forgot also Bobby Lashley said so before Brock Lesnar came out. I just remember Bobby Lashley said that he basically tried to do like the heelish thing and try to gloss over how he won. Basically said that he pinned Brock Lesnar, proving that he was the best amateur wrestler, MMA fighter, and the best champion in WWE. But that's when Brock Lesnar came out. But yeah, Brock Lesnar basically was wanting Bobby Lashley to defend the championship. Right, they was in Cincinnati, so he wanted him to defend the championship right here in Cincinnati. And Bobby looked like he was going for it, but then MVP talked him out of it. And Brock Lesnar, Brock Lesnar is one of those superstars that they allowed to get away with using the cuss word, and he used that cuss word to a very good proportion, because there was a very good part of that segment where Bobby Lashley just cussing him out. Brock Lesnar just cussing Bobby Lashley out, and they had to cut the audio completely. Like, you just didn't hear nothing. It was just funny to me. But yeah, Bobby Lashley wouldn't take it. So Adam Pearce did announce that it was going to be some qualifying matches to see who was going to be in the Elimination Chamber with Bobby Lashley. And since Bobby Lashley said no to Brock Lesnar's challenge, he demanded that he be put into it, with Adam Pearce announcing that Brock Lesnar, by default, since it's Brock Lesnar, is automatic. He don't have to qualify in the match. He just automatically put in. I would have had Brock, since he was in his ring gear, even if it was just a squash match. You could have had him just wrestle somebody in the squash match just to give the Cincinnati crowd something. Since he was out there in his ring gear, and it could have been like that. But he just got a buy-in, by him being Brock Lesnar. And since the way he lost the title at the Royal Rumble, it was only fair to give him another shot by automatically putting him in. He wouldn't be the first person he is the first person of the night that had that type of opportunity. We'll get to that second person later. The first match was Rhea Ripley versus Nikki Ash, and it was alright. It was a payoff to finally see them facing each other. Though I wish they'll drop almost a superhero. If she's going to be a heel, she should be Nikki, almost a superhero. She should be they should have her with darker clothes and be Nikki, almost a supervillain. Like I would prefer they do that with her if she's going to be a heel, because it just makes sense that heel Nikki Ash will be in darker clothes and look like a villain instead of looking like a superhero. But yeah, the match was good, and Rhea ended up hitting the riptide on Nikki in the end to win that match. Then we had two backstage promo. We had one with Alexa Bliss, and then one with Matt Riddle and Chad Gable. The one with Matt Riddle and Chad Gable was supposed to be the second round of this little academic challenge that Chad Gable got them going through. And what I didn't know was, I guess whoever won the first round got to pick what the second round would be. And since RK Bro won the first round, Riddle got to choose the next round as a scooter race. But Chad modified it, and that I guess instead of being like 3 laps to the finish or whatever, it was like 50 to 52 or something like that. But it was 50 something laps they had to do. So basically, I had to lap the whole arena, then come out to the to ringside to where the photo finish was. I don't even think when they finally did do that, I don't think it actually took a picture, but that was like the start of that. And R-Truth was basically like your flag, your honorary guest flag waver to start the race and to end the race. The other promo was, like I said, was Alexa Bliss. They doing like this road to Alexa Bliss returning to Monday Night Raw, and it was just the continuation of her therapy session where she talks to it was awkward. It was not awkward, but it was like a little boring to hear her go through, because we already got the backstory about her and Liddy. Now she's telling the therapist basically the same thing she already explained in the ring or in backstage segments about how she met Lily. We'll get to the second match of the night, which was the Miz versus Dominic Mysterio, which wasn't an Elimination Chamber qualifying match. It was just a random pairing of the Miz versus Dominic Mysterio. Maybe this is supposed to be a feud between the two. I don't know. We'll get the way how the match went. It might be a future setup feud with either Dom or Ray, but in the end, the Miz would use some Eddie Guerrero-like tactics to get Rey Mysterio kicked out from ringside to go to the back. And it was weird. Like, it was cool up until the point where when Rey Mysterio got kicked, when the referee ejected Rey Mysterio, told him to go to the back. Why did, by the time Mysterio got to the ramp, to the part of the ramp that's by the ring to go up it, the Miz had hit the Stone Crusher finale on Dom and pinned him. So Rey didn't get to go to the back. It was like it made that whole section of that the Miz pretending to be hurt so that Rey Mysterio would get ejected pointless because he just won the match anyway before he could get to the back. But yeah, the Miz won that match. Then we got the KO show promo with basically Kevin Owens welcoming everybody to the KO show, and that he announced that he was going to be at the Elimination Chamber just like how Brock Lesnar was. And then joyfully went, well, after I beat Austin Theory. But you know what I mean, I'm going to be there. I'm going to win. But then he will bring out Seth Rollins, who was visibly still hurt from his ordeal with Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. And Seth Rollins, this is where I was telling you we was going to get to later. Seth Rollins basically, after Kevin Owens complimented him and saying that even though he didn't walk out with the Universal Championship, he's the Universal Champion in his heart. Seth Rollins announced that he had a surprise announcement, and that his surprise announcement that he too is going to be in the Elimination Chamber match. But much to the chagrin of Kevin Owens, he found out that Seth Rollins said that he revealed that it wasn't like a qualifying match. It was actually just like Brock Lesnar. It was a buy-in. He just basically he qualified for the match based off of the results of the Royal Rumble match with him winning via disqualification, and then the aftermath of the beatdown. So therefore, he even explained it to Kevin funny, like, cause Kevin was like, why can't you be happy for me? He was like, I am happy. I just was trying to figure out how come you don't have to qualify or don't. He said, I did qualify. He explained that he qualified because of what happened at the Royal Rumble. So then he was like, okay, you know what? I'm happy for you. I'm good. Everything's good. And then he's like, you know what? I did just think of a plan, though. He said, why don't we go back and find Adam Pearce, and you demand that I be put into the match just like you and Brock, or you said you walk. You won't be in, if he can't be in the match, you can't be in the match, type deal. And Seth was like, what? I mean, why would I? He's like, they will listen to you. You're Seth freaking Rollins. They will have to listen to you. And Seth was basically trying to weasel his way out from doing that. But I think he mentioned something about some chili. But Austin Theory will come out giving Seth Rollins his escape route, thus starting the next match, which is Kevin Owens versus Austin Theory. Now, the first two matches of the night was kind of like. But this match right here, starting with this match, this was one of the many good matches of the night. Kevin Owens and Austin Theory put on an actual classic. I was not suspecting. That's what made it so good, was that I wasn't expecting Kevin Owens and Austin Theory to have that type of match, and that was a good match. It went back and forth just like they supposed to. I didn't know who was going to win, because I was actually entertained by it so much. I didn't know it was Austin Theory or Kevin Owens. It seemed like it was going to be Kevin Owens. You would think it would be Kevin Owens or Austin Theory, but in the end, Austin Theory would actually win the match. Though it would have been more impactful if Vince McMahon was on the show, but nonetheless, your winner of that match was Austin Theory, and he to qualify for. I think he was the first person in the actual qualifying match to qualify for the Elimination Chamber, because by this point, once Austin Theory won, it was Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar, Austin Theory, and Seth Rollins. So it's only two more people to qualify, right? It was only the fifth and sixth spot. So we would get the next match of it being Angelo Dawkins versus Dolph Ziggler. But before that, I think it was like a backstage promo where Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford was like the pit stop crew, where they go get something to drink and get refreshed for the race. they gave Matt Riddle a cut and he drank something, but he was like, whoa, that's not water, but it would do, you know. And then they would pretend like they was gonna give one to Chad Gable. It was like, nah, it's quench thirsty though. And then and then he got a drink from Otis, but it turns out the drink from Otis was like A1 steak sauce. So I was like, why Otis? And then that's what started the match. Then they came out for the match. Angelo Dawkins and Dolph Ziggler had an okay match. Dolph Ziggler always know how to put on a 4 to 5 star match. He's a good seller, you know. But in the end, surprisingly, Angelo Dawkins defeated Dolph Ziggler. I didn't think they was gonna let Dolph Ziggler get beat by somebody like Angelo Dawkins. But that's good for Angelo Dawkins. He could actually say that he pinned a former world champion. Let's see. Now I got to flip over to my second page. Yeah. Then we would get to the finals. The final part of this little obstacle course race with Chad Gable and Matt Riddle, where Matt was basically about to win the race because I guess Chad like hurt his knee or something. And as Riddle was about to cross the finish line, Otis came out of nowhere and blasted Riddle, and Chad was able to cross the finish line. So Riddle and Chad got into an argument about Chad cheating, and said, you know, instead of continuing talking about that or undoing the race, obviously because he cheated, they Chad said, "You like you want a match, and you're gonna get your match, but it's gonna be against Otis." So that ended up being the next match of the night, which would be Matt Riddle versus Otis. The whole race thing segment was one of the most boring, not the most boring, but it was the kind of boring segment of the night. But Matt Riddle kind of saved that because he's like a national treasure. He's always funny for some reason, but and we know why. But you know. So Matt Riddle versus Otis. Before the match could start, Adam Pearce came out and announced that the Matt Riddle versus Otis match will now be a qualifying match with the Elimination Chamber, making it official, and thus letting the referee ring the bell. So now, if whoever won between Matt Riddle and Otis will join the rest of them at the Elimination Chamber. And this match was also another good match. And I was like, okay, I'm surprised they actually put on some decent matches. This is another good match. And Riddle and Otis, they went back and forth. It looked at in most of the match though, it was like dominated by Otis, and it looked like Otis was going to win. But Matt Riddle would hit the floating bro. I think they call that the floating bro time, whatever they call it, and end up getting the pinfall on Otis, thus qualifying for the Elimination Chamber. Now making it Bobby Lashley versus Seth Rollins versus Austin Theory. Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar versus Austin Theory versus Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle. Now Matt Riddle. And then we would get the next match, which was Bianca Belair versus which was Carmella. This was to me like it was a great outing for. It was always a great to see Bianca Belair get some shine, but this match felt like it really had no substance to it. Like how they said that this was for the women's, like had Nikki versus Rhea and this match being for the women's Elimination Chambers match, which I hope they have. It would have been different, but it's not really different. Though I don't think they're going to do a women's Elimination Chamber match because I don't think they got enough women to do it like on both brands. They would have to add like women from NXT to do it. But Bianca Belair would hit the kiss of death on Carmella to win that match. Like I said, I wish it was like something on the line, some type of number one contendership. But we will find out later why nobody in the night for the women tried to challenge Becky Lynch. I forgot to also mention too that Ronda Rousey throughout the whole night was advertised, and the reason why I mention it because she was advertised throughout the whole night, and up until this point, that's the reason why I didn't say nothing about Ronda Rousey because I forgot that up until this point, this is where you were starting to think because the last match of the night was Rey Mysterio versus AJ Styles. And you would think to yourself, like, wait a minute, they've been advertising that Ronda's going to be here. The show is almost over because this last match only left like what 10 to 15 minutes left of the show. So it was like you didn't, and you know the way how the match was going, you didn't think it was going to end anytime soon. But this was also another good match. Rey Mysterio and AJ Styles put on an absolutely great match from start to finish. I really enjoyed this match. I enjoyed the ring work of both Rey Mysterio and AJ Styles. They both played off each other. I like the little spot where how people usually toss Rey out the ring. He lands on his chest and be in pain. My boy Rey landed on his chest, bounced up onto his feet, and was like, whoo, that kind of hurt. And then got back. It was to the point where the announcers and AJ Styles was surprised. They was like, oh, wow, they usually hurt you. But they had a great match. That match was great. But in the end, AJ Styles will hit the Styles Clash to be the final person to qualify for the Elimination Chamber, making it all the way full, which is not going to be bad. Cause, I mean, it's going to be Bobby Lashley versus Brock versus Matt Riddle versus Seth Rollins versus Austin Theory and AJ Styles. That's going to be actually a great match. And I actually can't complain. They pushing somebody new like Austin Theory, though. I might not like the fact that it's Austin Theory. At least it's a new person that they pushing into some type of title picture, main title picture, somebody new, right? So then we got the final segment of the night, which was the Ronda Rousey promo. And her promo was just short and sweet. She basically came out saying that she been debating about who to face on Saturday since she won the Royal Rumble, and she said she could choose instead of calling her Becky. She said I could choose Rebecca, which is Becky Lynch's real name, and she said I could challenge her, but she's not who I'm mainly after right now. She said Becky Lynch is like on her undercard, and that the main fight is not with her. So it seems like she's angling more towards Charlotte Flair, but this would bring out Becky Lynch, and Becky Lynch would basically call Ronda, you little weirdo. She would start calling her. Remember when Ronda and there was feuding before? She would kept calling her a little weirdo, and she said, "You little weirdo out here spilling out nonsense using my government name." But basically, Becky wanted Ronda to choose right now who she was going to face at WrestleMania. She demanded to know who she was going to beat next, and she kept trying to get Ronda to say something. She would accidentally point her arm and finger in front of Ronda, so Ronda was like, and just grabbed it and judo flipped her, and told her, grabbed the mic from her hand and told her that she would get her answer on SmackDown, threw the mic at her and walked away. But that wasn't it. Becky Lynch was mad, calling her a weirdo, saying that she was walking on like a coward, and then she told her you could run, about to tell her you could run, but you can't hide forever. But this would bring out Lita. Lita would come out and basically was like, yeah, she's just so rude. But you're a fighting champion. I respect you because you got the women's division on fire, the Raw women's division on fire, and I respect you. And you seem like a person that don't back down from a challenge and is ready for a challenge. And she like, yeah, I admire you, Lita. I used to get in trouble with my thongs out and everything like you. And yeah, I am a fighting champion and stuff. Then she started realizing what she was saying. She was like, yeah, I'm a fighting champion. And I don't back down from a challenge. Where you going with this? And she was like, well, since you're a fighting champion, I don't like to back down from a challenge. I kind of got a challenge for you. I want to fight you at Elimination Chamber for the Raw Women's Championship. And Becky respectfully declined, said that, and she was like, wait a minute, I thought you was a fighting champion, won't back down from anything. She said, I am, but you're taking my words out of context, and applying them to something that doesn't apply here. And she got booed by the crowd. And, Lita goaded her by saying, hey, it's okay, if you, it's okay. You got a lot in your place, hard to defend. But if you're just scared, just say so. If you're just scared, and she said, "I'm not scared." She said, "You want your championship match at the Elimination Chamber? Then you got it." And Lita said, Thank you. And then she like, I knew you was a fighting champion. And her music hit, and we're left. The show ended with a confused and disenchanted, disorient. Not I'm about to say all these other words. Confused and tricked Becky Lynch because she just realized she just got duped into taking Leah's challenge by being called a coward, and she didn't want to take Leah's challenge, but she realized Leah just forced me to take her challenge by calling me a coward, and now I feel stupid. Type look on her face, and that's how they ended the show. This Monday Night Raw was actually, in my opinion, it's weird to say this, and especially for the Royal Rumble, Monday Night Raw was actually kind of better than the Rumble. It just had, in my opinion, because it had it had better matches that I could get into. Besides from a couple, like 2 matches that was throwaway matches, I actually got really into this. Besides from the Matt Riddle little side quest to get the tag team titles back. Though I'm trying to see. I don't understand where they're going with the Alexa Bliss thing, but hopefully it's a payoff to it. Hopefully she still get to do this character. I would like to see Alexa Bliss as this character, as a fiend like Alexa Bliss, win the championship, so we could see what her custom side plate would be. But I would give this episode of Monday Night Raw 8 big ups out of 10, because this was actually a decent show, and I was actually more entertained by this than I was with the Rumble. Because if you watch my Rumble review, I gave that a 5, and this got an 8 because this was just that more entertainment. But let me know what you thought in the comments down below, or how you feel about this episode of Monday Night Raw. If you enjoyed it, then you hit that button right there in the upper right corner for all of my wrestling reviews. And then if you enjoy the channel so much you want to support the channel, here I go back into my tribal chief mode. Then acknowledge me by hitting that subscribe button, that like button, hit that notification button too. Do all those, and share. Do all those great things, because that's how the tribal chief knows to keep bringing you more content like this, making himself look like the tribal chief, like a fool. But acknowledge me by doing all those great things and hitting any one of these videos for more of my amazing content. Acknowledge me as I awkwardly say peace.